Hey everybody, John Skiba here from the Consumer Warrior YouTube channel, and in this video, I'm going to share with you 3 things you absolutely should not do if you're considering bankruptcy in the near future. But if this is your first time here to my YouTube channel, please click subscribe, check on that bell. That way you'll be notified each and every day when I put out new videos that'll help you deal with serious debt issues. All right, if you are contemplating bankruptcy, if you find yourself in a really tough spot, a lot of credit card debt, medical bills, personal loans, whatever it is, the nuclear option here, just get rid of this debt. If you're looking to file for bankruptcy, there's 3 things that you should not do that can cause problems in your bankruptcy. I've been practicing bankruptcy law in Arizona for about 20 years now, and so I've seen these 3 issues come up consistently with people. And I want to explain to you why you shouldn't do them and then maybe some alternatives. Okay, so the first thing you should not do is pay off any loans that you have to family members or friends. Now, I get this 100%. If you're looking to file for bankruptcy, you're thinking, you know what, I don't want to have to list my sibling or my parents as a creditor in my bankruptcy. I'm just going to get them paid off so that I don't have to include them. The problem with that is that there's a provision in the bankruptcy code that states if you repay any loans to family members or friends within the 12 months prior to filing your bankruptcy case, it can be considered what the court calls a preferential payment. And with preferential payments, they can actually go back to whoever you paid the money to, get the money back, and then distribute it evenly amongst all of your creditors. Now, if you think about logistically, this could be really horrible. This makes family parties and Thanksgiving really awkward going forward. So for example, if I am filing for bankruptcy and I had a loan from my father and I paid him back within 12 months prior to filing bankruptcy, the court would consider that a preference in a bankruptcy. They would go back to my father, said, hey, John's dad, you've got to give all this money back, and then they're going to take it and distribute it evenly amongst all of your creditors. So the way to avoid that, obviously, is to not pay back family members or friends right prior to filing bankruptcy or within that 12-month window. It's important to know you can voluntarily repay anyone you want after the bankruptcy case is over. And so if there's a family member or a friend that you feel that you need to pay back after the bankruptcy case has been completed, you're welcome to do that, but you don't want to do it prior to the filing of the bankruptcy. Now, you may be saying, John, that advice would have been great, but I paid off my family members about 6 months ago. The only option there, well, there's 2 options. One is you can just wait 12 months from the date that you made the payment, and then it would not be considered a preference in your bankruptcy. The second thing you can do, depending on the amount, you may be able to negotiate with your attorney to the bankruptcy trustee where you pay back those funds instead. So back to my example, if I had loaned $1,000 from my father and paid him back within the 12 months prior to filing bankruptcy, I could then file my bankruptcy, and instead of them going after my father for that $1,000, they could come after me and I would agree to pay it back instead, just so that there's some distribution for creditors. So the number 1 thing you need to avoid if bankruptcy is in your future is paying back loans from family members or friends within the 12 months prior to filing your bankruptcy. The second thing you need to avoid is transferring assets. You don't want to transfer anything out of your name within, frankly, a couple of years prior to filing for bankruptcy unless it's an actual sale. So let me show you a common example. Is that someone's considering filing bankruptcy, they have maybe multiple vehicles or they have a boat maybe that's paid for, and they don't want to lose that asset through the bankruptcy, and so they think, okay, I'm just going to transfer this to my friend or transfer this to a family member. I'll just take my name off the title and then we won't have to worry about it. The problem is you will have to worry about it because any transfers that occur within 2 years prior to filing of your bankruptcy case where you did not receive the equivalent value in return for it can be considered an inappropriate or even what they call a fraudulent transfer. It sounds worse than it is because a lot of times it's done very innocently, but I can tell you, you don't want to transfer assets out of your name. Again, the scenario where we see this, like I said, the boat gets transferred to a friend or a family member. What the court can do is they can go back, unwind that transfer, sell the asset, and then distribute the funds to your creditors. So the best advice I have is status quo. If you're considering filing for bankruptcy, 1, I highly recommend you use an attorney, but 2, don't transfer anything out of your name. Talk to the attorney because often you can use an exemption or something to protect the asset rather than worrying about this whole transfer thing and then them unwinding it. Now, it's important to note that what I'm not talking about here is an actual sale. Let's say you have a vehicle a year before you file for bankruptcy, you sell the vehicle's worth $5,000, you get $5,000 or roughly that amount. That's fine. If it's an actual transaction, even if it's sold to family members or friends, as long as money is exchanging hands and it's an actual transaction and it's documented and you're doing everything as it should be, that's fine. The fraudulent transfer, the transfer issue becomes a problem when an asset is transferred, but you don't get anything in return for it. Essentially, you just give it away. This also applies to cash. If you have a bunch of money in a savings account or stocks or whatever, and you transfer it to maybe a child or a family member or anybody, frankly, that can cause you problems. So the best advice is status quo. Keep everything as it is. Don't transfer, don't take your name off the title to anything until you talk to your attorney and then you can figure out what the best route is for that particular asset. Now, the third thing you need to avoid is using your credit cards prior to filing a bankruptcy case. There is a temptation that if you're filing for bankruptcy and there's some space left available on a credit card, that you're going to go out there and charge up some groceries or whatever you feel like you need for your home. You do not want to do that. Charges that are particularly for luxury items and cash advances that occur within a 70 to 90-day window prior to filing for bankruptcy can be considered non-dischargeable. The creditor is going to have to come in and raise the objection, but you don't want to be in a situation where you're charging money to a credit card or taking a cash advance on a credit card where there's no intent to pay and then filing for bankruptcy. That can cause you problems in the bankruptcy and can make those specific charges non-dischargeable and you'll end up having to pay them back anyway. So hopefully that's helpful. If you're considering bankruptcy, like I said, the three things you want to avoid: paying off any debts or loans to family members or friends, transferring any assets out of your name, and the third one is using credit cards that are going to be included in the bankruptcy within that 70 to 90-day window prior to filing your case. If you're in the state of Arizona and you're considering bankruptcy, my information is below. I'm happy to do a free consultation and help you determine if it's the best option for you. A lot of people are surprised that even though I'm a bankruptcy attorney, there are often where I'll say, bankruptcy isn't the best option, but we can go over some non-bankruptcy options to deal with your debt. I hope that's helpful today. Thanks for watching.